What other poll questions do we have?
Why don't we jump into some GM situations, Dan? Warriors GM Bob Myers stepping down.
All right.
Do you think he's stepping down because it was time, as he said? He wants a new gig, or maybe has a new gig, or he wanted to get out of there before, I don't know, maybe some contracts.
Okay, but it's time. It's time because why? There has to be a reason why it's time. Is it health? Burnout? Is there another job?
Luxury tax?
Are you going to bring Steve Kerr back for one more year? What are you going to do with Draymond Green? They got some issues there. But, Bob Myers, it's hard to be famous as a GM. Let's take Jerry West out of this. Red Auerbach was a brilliant GM as well. But it's hard. Theo Epstein, got famous for being a GM, building 2 different championship rosters. Brian Cashman with the Yankees, famous as a GM. But Bob Myers, in an organization where you would think he would be overshadowed because they have Steph and they have Clay and they have Steve Kerr, he was available to the media, and he made a lot of interesting moves. He brought in Kevin Durant. He traded for Andre Iguodala. He drafted Draymond Green. He did a lot of he traded for Andrew Wiggins, who had been a disappointment as the number 1 player drafted by Minnesota. Now, he also whiffed on James Wiseman and Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody. But he is part of the reason why they became a dynasty. But I don't even think he's 50 years of age. And the only thing I thought was, well, the Knicks just let their GM go. Would he want that challenge? And by the way, aren't the Knicks succeeding? That you let your GM go, you don't extend his contract? And I thought that the Knicks were sort of on an uptick here. Made the playoffs a couple of times. And I would have thought you're doing a pretty good job there. Right, Marvin?
They can't handle success.
Oh, okay.
They're like, we're doing well. We can't have this.
Yeah, time to panic.
I mean, you finally get a little stability. You get a decent roster. You're making the playoffs. Yeah, let's not keep this guy.
But I don't know if Bob Myers wants to be a GM again. Maybe they the Knicks let go of their GM because Bob Myers is available. Is there a coincidence here? Is there timing here? I have no idea. But I do think the Golden State Warriors, they're holding on to the last remnants of being a dynasty here. As Steph, his age, Clay, I think he's got one more year at like $43 million. Do you bring Draymond back? How long do you sign Draymond for? Does Steve Kerr want to coach longer? I think he's got one more year left on this contract. There's a lot of, and they don't have that nucleus there. So you got Jordan Poole, but I don't know who he is anymore after what happened with Draymond. That nucleus that was going to take you into the next decade here, they're not great. And Wiseman was already traded. Kuminga is probably going to be available. And I just wonder, they'll still be a formidable team because you have Steph and Clay, and if Draymond's back for one more year. But this appears to be the end of the road here coming up. So I thought it was a big deal that Bob Myers stepped down. Yes, Paulie?
I wonder if a guy like him looks at this and says, all the things you just said, I don't want to be here for the downside because that affects me and what a hot property I am for another team or another franchise in another sport or a bigger job. If you leave now, you're intact. And you leave by choice. You take a nice gap year, whatever you want to do, and then people will break the bank to get you.
Well, you're under 50. I think he's 48. Obviously, there's a lot of opportunities out there for him if he wants them. I think it was reported that Kevin Durant reached out to him about maybe joining the Phoenix Suns, whether that's true or not. But I could understand if you're Kevin Durant, like, I know what that guy did in Golden State, bringing me in, and maybe that's what he could help us with the Phoenix Suns. But I don't know how that works, with Golden State, or they let him go. And don't you have to have like a window where you can't work for somebody else for a year or something?
You think he's got a non-compete?
Is there a non-compete? We have it in our business. I don't know if they have it as a GM. You can't compete. Okay. You're going to sit out for a year. But Bob Myers, he's been a great architect in today's NBA to stand out as a GM. He's done a pretty good job. Yeah, Paul?
I know you could trade for a coach, but can you trade for a GM? Could you trade like a player for a GM? That'd be a good time. Like if players have been, or compensation and draft picks for coaches.
Yeah.
Let's say a team acquired Bob Myers where they owe compensation to the Warriors.
I would have traded for Jerry West as a GM. I would have given up a couple of first-round picks for Jerry West.
Yeah. And
Sure.
like if the Cubs had to pay to get Theo Epstein, I don't think they did, but it would have been well worth it.